Happy Motivation Monday. I'm Tammy Stencil. I'm the Field Development Manager with AHCP. Dan is working with an agency offsite today, so he asked me to just kind of jump in and help out while he's busy traveling. So for those that are new, or a refresher for those of you who join us each week, some common layout for what we do is we do a brief review of last week's tip of the week, and then we can continue on to a new tip of the week, whether it be retention ideas, important dates, or carrier product information. And then we move into AHCP Sales Trends and the end of sales technique with this week as cold calling. So last week's tip of the week was in regards to client retention and clients being able to receive their fulfillment packets. Really, now's a great time. You should be reaching out to those clients to ensure that they've received those fulfillment packets. Also see if they need any additional coverage or products. It also helps with that client retention, just touching back out and checking in with them. And for this week's tip of the week is Colorado Bankers Life, CBL. CBL is a great critical illness with term life to it. It's a minimum age of 18 to 64. It does have a renewable up to age 70. Minimum coverage is $10,000 with a max up to $250,000. And it's a 10-year renewable with convertible level term. It will cover up to 100% with heart attack, cancer, terminal illness, 25% on the coronary bypass surgery, valve replacement, aortic surgeries, and 10% with angioplasty. It is a carrier that pays direct to you agents, and it has great commission percentages. The appointment time is a pretty quick turnaround as well. It's just an overall great solid product to have in your portfolio. And just kind of giving you an update, we do have a live webinar training today, giving you a notice about that if you haven't received a notification already. We are meeting with Bob Johnson. He's a regional sales director with IHC. He's going to give you an opportunity to learn more about IHC's product options for those individuals and families who maybe have some really high premiums or help offset some of that high out-of-pocket costs associated with today's major medical plans. So if you want, you can click on the hyperlink to register for the webinar, or you can also go to ahcpsales.com website. Under the training tab, there's a calendar, and you can go to click and sign up there. So that is today at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to jump into last week's sales trends for AHCP agents. Major medical was up about 3%, with Molina and Anthem sales being the strongest sales. And then we had about a 30% increase this last week for short-term medical. NatGen and HIC was leading the way, and then Golden Rule short-term. Accident sales were also up. They were up about 25%. And that was with Plan Enhancer and AxeMed with the NatGen products. And then also we had a decrease with critical illness, but Colorado Bankers Life, CBL, and NatGen were both growing, so that's fantastic. And our dental was up almost 50% in sales for the last week, and that was Golden Rule Dental. So that tells me you guys are doing a lot of great cross-selling and upselling, so fantastic job. And one of my favorite parts is doing sales shout-outs to our agents for the previous week's sales. Beginning of February sales was David Desewitt with Major Medical for Anthem. Richard Stillwell for short-term medical with Golden Rule as well as NatGen. So he was really popping out some great policies there. And then Katiana Santa Maria for ancillary sales with NatGen Limited Medical, TrioMed, and dental sales. So she was doing some great job there with upselling and cross-selling. So sales techniques, to jump into it, today's hints are in relation to cold calling. We know cold calling is important. It's that non-organic way for us to grow our business. We've all went through building our own brand, letting people know what we do and why we do it. We should be getting leads from other people by asking, who else do you know may be looking for better insurance options or needs insurance? Once you get that contact, have those people let the people know that you'll be calling. This is in no relation to the purchase leads that you get. These are ones that you definitely want to make sure that you call. They're kind of a referral in a way. And once you've got that pool of people that you've never talked to, how do you make these leads work for you? Well, you should try and convince yourself that cold calling you really shouldn't try and convince yourself that cold calling isn't necessary. In truth, however, most successful sales people consistently develop new leads by using a variety of methods, including cold calling. By practicing and persevering, both your skills and confidence will improve. Well, cold calling success is really divided into two categories, planning and discipline. Planning as in having a script, be ready for anything. Also discipline as in being organized. I'll briefly go over both of those and give you some great ideas. So calling discipline, kind of break it down, block out time, no distractions, have a tick sheet for trends, set goals, and reward yourself. The following might be beneficial to you as you begin practice the critical discipline of cold calling. Have a dedicated time each day to do your prospecting. Know the reason you're calling for those calls. Is it about customer benefits or not having a product? And also assume your voicemail isn't going to be returned. So you want to go through and make sure that you have blocked out time. Time management is very important. You need to block aside special time for it. Have that be the only thing you do during that time. If you're not super organized, you can either contact us about a CRM system called Agent Q, which is very useful, or go ahead and block out the time on that. Or if you don't have a CRM with a built-in calendar, then use your email calendar. It's a good go-to tool. When you block out time, you need to remove all distractions as well. Cold calling is one of the hardest parts of the job. People like to set aside time, but they also let any distraction take them away from it. A good move is figure about 25 minutes for cold calling, take a 10-minute break, and then 25 minutes back. Do that 2 or 3 times a day if you're really needing to build that pool up. And then focus 100% of your efforts on what you're doing. Are you multitasking so much that you're just not getting it done? If so, focus on one task at a time. Close all those applications that you aren't running. Close off the tabs in your browsers that are taking your attention away. Focus solely on what you're doing. You'll be more efficient that way. And then a tick sheet. The average rule of numbers is 25 calls an hour. Mark it down, for every time you make that call. And then, figure you'll talk to maybe 25 or 20% of that 25 calls. Okay. And then hopefully, or appointment-wise, your show rate would be about 50%. Your show rate will be about 50% higher or so, all depending on close rate. But your cold calling numbers, is very important. Being able to keep track of that. And then setting realistic goals. Be clear about what you need to do to call X amount by 10 a.m. or Y amount by 3 p.m., Z amount by 5:30. To prevent your work from dragging on, eating into the time that you've reserved for other activities as well. Don't stress the time, all the time that it's not being done. And being able to achieve your goal, recognize yourself. Have a nice lunch out. If you've achieved those goals, you made those 25 calls per hour that you tracked, or you were able to set a goal of 5 follow-up calls per day or 5 appointments per day. A nice lunch out or a game of golf if you prefer. Determine your activities for the day. Have specific activities delegated in those block of times. Blocking out that time can make time management really important for you and simplify things much easier. You either need to block aside a time for it to have it to be the only thing you do. If you're not super organized, you can contact us about, again, that CRM or use that calendar. But you need to definitely make sure that you're using that calendar to block those specific times out for those cold calls. Makes it much easier for you to track and makes it much easier to stay organized. And then just have a simple online countdown timer can also help you. So if you're trying to make 25 calls in an hour, have that timer going so that way you make sure that you stay on task and on time. You don't go over the time so you can have the opportunity to do other things to get completed as needed. And then make sure that your phone time calls, earmark specific block times of the day and evening to call those appointments. Don't get trapped into only calling during the evening. Every time I walk around the mall during the day, which isn't frequent, but when I do see that there's several people there, but I also see that it's pretty empty as well compared to in the evening. So my point is there's a lot of people that you can call during the day. So, people have variations in their schedules that are available. Some people work swing shifts, so don't count on those people to just be home in the evenings. So try to call throughout the day. And then if you have any other meetings from people on your calendar, you'll be working on those priorities all day long as well. So make sure you block out that appropriate time for those meetings as well as the cold calling. Set up color scheming to help you, with whatever color scheme works best for you. A lot of times people know that red means hot, so if it's something that's highly important, highlight it red some way or flag it red. Maintaining accurate notes on those callback alarms, following up on the next day or when you need to do a follow-up, and maybe just some minor specifics about the call. And smiling and dialing. Smiling really helps tremendously when you're on the phone. People can hear the smile through the phone, so definitely make sure you're wearing that smile. I know a lot of times people just really don't enjoy doing cold calling, but honestly, if you make the best of it, it can turn out really good, positive energy there. Streamlining, is great. Don't reinvent the wheel for the same task that you do multiple times. Have a little cold call script. Keep it really short and sweet, and it will keep you from fumbling and stammering your words. It flows smoother once you get that comfort level down and what you plan to say. And then really the first thing in your greeting is be really genuine. What's the goal behind cold calling? To help these people save money and to get the right insurance, right? That's why we do what we do. I mean, if you want to walk into cold calling with a cheesy attitude and overscriptive response, then people aren't going to listen. Customers who feel like you're a salesperson, who's just, generally interested in helping them to learn more about their needs and what they are needing to purchase, they're more likely to listen. The more you know about your prospect and their current situation, especially when you know very little going into the call, the better you can customize that product recommendation. And the crucial element of cold calling, where about 95% of the wannabes get it wrong, is the first 3 seconds after saying hello. 3 seconds is the size of the window of opportunity that you have to get your prospect interested. So if they're not curious after the first 3 seconds, that means they'll dismiss you and your offer. Instead of listening, they'll start thinking of objections, excuses to hang up the call. So how do you do that? We use a quick, and I mean quick, script. So first, the greeting. The first thing is how that prospect is doing. I want all this, from a new agent and why to start with something that could be negative. So get it right with that first introduction point. Hi, this is Tammy from A&B Insurance. I specialize in assisting individuals with customized health plans that save on average around 15% of current premium costs. Immediately, it introduces who I am, who I'm with, and what I can do to help them. And then once you get past that first initial opening, then start with the engaging questions. You need to make that client participate in the conversation, create a dialogue instead of just a run-on sentence where they're going to shut you down mentally and get you off that phone. Keep in mind this is the first impression during those first 3 seconds. So something along the line of, how often do you hear from your current agent? Tell me about your satisfaction with your current health insurance. You want an engaging question that the client cares. Benefits as to why branding yourself is so important, what you can do for them, and what makes you different. Do you provide exceptional customer service? Specialize in work with small business owners? You need to stress you or your agency's unique edge. How will you save them 15%? Keep in mind there's no fee of working with us. Maybe that helps. Or think of how many carriers that you work with. So something like, so what I do here is provide a free service as a health insurance broker to look into about 20 companies that I work with specifically to make sure that you have the best and most cost-effective health insurance plan out there. It takes about 10 minutes where I'm going to ask you some questions about your current situation and look into those companies for you. Again, it's free. To ensure that you're getting the most of your benefits for your dollar. Just make sure you're keeping it really short and sweet with your customers. Rather than overwhelming that stranger with information of industry-specific terminology, speak clearly. Stick to a high level of explanation. And at last, ask for an appointment. The client will never ask you, so you need to do it. This is where you get get objections and the fun as a salesperson starts. You want to be positive in a proactive way. So do you have a calendar in front of you? Take a look at what's good for you for a 10-minute call this week, unless you have time now, of course. Deal with those objections. Pen and paper them, when they get home, find out how much, you want to find out when they get home in a little bit of detail. Get that pen and paper, to give them some homework. Ask them, how much do you currently pay for your insurance and your benefits? And then, tell them that you want to compare it. And then have them write down and repeat the name, phone number, and time and date, and then the reason to the call. Have them write that all down, so that way they're ready for that, next phone appointment, as well as you can be. So, a good little example is, hi, Bob, this is Tammy from A&B Insurance. And I'm so glad I got you on the phone. I've been assigned to be the agent to help you with your health insurance. I specialize in assisting individuals with customized health plans that on average can save around 15% of current premium costs. Are you currently insured? No? Or yes? How long have you been without it? If there's any reason why. If they tell you yes, then tell me about your current satisfaction with your health insurance. Those are engaging questions. It also let them know who I was, what I was calling for, and it was just short and sweet. So what I do is provide a free service as health insurance broker to look into about 20 companies that I specifically work with to make sure that you have the best and most cost-effective health insurance plan out there. This takes about 10 minutes where I ask some questions about your current situation, look into those companies for you, again for free, to ensure that you're getting the most benefits for your dollar. Do you have a calendar in front of you? Take a look at what might be good for you for a 10-minute phone call this week, unless you have time now, of course. It just pieces everything all together. And then you just want to do a quick and easy. If you want more ideas, you just want to keep it quick and easy. If you want more ideas, you can definitely reach out to Dan or myself. There's also a great book, Jerry Hocott's Cold Calling for Cowards. Gives you perspective into some number games of cold calling and some small tips. So there's some options out there for a little bit additional learning and training. That kind of wraps us up for today. If you have any questions for next Motivation Monday, please feel free to reach out to training@ahcpsales.com. And if you want anything new to be covered for Monday, please feel free to throw some ideas out there of maybe something that we haven't covered, something that you want a little bit more in-depth information on. And definitely guarantee that about 15 other people may have some the same questions or ideas, so they may not necessarily communicate it. Feel free to shoot it to us. So if there aren't any questions at the moment, definitely I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And great things never come from that comfort zone, so please make sure that you have the opportunity to step outside of that comfort zone. Give cold calling that opportunity and chance. If you always do things that are easy and choose that path of least resistance, you will never step outside that comfort zone. So definitely give the opportunity a chance to try something new. Great things don't come to those of us who sit in that comfort zone. Have a great selling week. Thank you again for joining us. I appreciate your time.